MacBook Neo. This is the latest laptop from Apple, starting at £599 or dollars. But if you're a student or you're in education, you can get it for as little as £499 or dollars. And for that, you're going to get an aluminium build with around 60% recycled materials, which makes it the most carbon neutral MacBook ever. 1.23 kg, which is the same weight as the MacBook Air. Comes in 4 interesting colors, pretty vibrant. So you've got a silver, blush, a citrus, which I have here, as well as an indigo. Powered by the Apple A18 Pro Chip. This is the mobile chip that we had on the iPhone 16 Pro and Pro Max. 8 GB of unified memory. You've got a liquid retina display, 13 inches, 500 nits of peak brightness. Battery life, you've got around 16 hours of video streaming, which is around 2 hours less than the MacBook Pro. You've got 2 USB-C ports. One is USB 3, one is USB 2. You've got a 3.5mm headphone jack. You've got 2 sound firing speakers, 1080p FaceTime HD camera, and all of that for a starting price of £599 or $499 if you are a student. Now, if you want to spend £100 or $100 more, you can get double the storage, 512 gigabytes, and that will also give you Touch ID. Let me just say, I think this is going to really shake up that entry-level market. First-time buyers getting a laptop, students needing a laptop for their day-to-day. It's going to have a big impact on that market, because now when you want to get a new laptop, you're not really going to have to look at the $1,000 mark. You can go for $500 and get something which is going to suit most people's needs for that price range. What do you think?
I disagree. I'm just joking. I mean, look, as a PC user, there's a side of me that goes like, nah. But the price point and the way they've attacked this market, first of all, is spot on. Um, the the other half of it is true, is that, because Apple owns the full stack from processor to OS, optimization, which is one of the big things, is going to be key and really shows in this device, because the A18 Pro handles really well on this. Now, if you're going to do heavier tasks like, some really in-depth editing or video, that's not what it's for, right? But day-to-day use, mom needs a laptop. This fits right in there. I need a laptop for school. Maybe you're in high school or you're in secondary school. It's a good place. In university or college, it depends on what you're doing, and it starts like moving away, right? You know, if you're coding or you're doing anything else that is more demanding, you probably want to move away. But it fits so many categories. But I think the best category it fits in is, I want something cheap and affordable, which is everybody, right? It's not a matter of like, um, whether you're a student or you're this or that. It fits the category of like, it works well, it's good, and it's affordable, which is not something typically you get that affordable part from an Apple product. So to me, that's huge.
I think the one key thing that I want to mention here, right? I know so many people who are through and through Apple users, okay? They have an iPhone, they have an iPad, they swear by Apple, but they'll always have a Windows laptop or a Chromebook, okay? Now, the main reason for that has traditionally been because if you want an entry-level MacBook, you're going to have to put down £1,000 for the MacBook Air, right?
Yeah.
That's your entry-level MacBook. That's a bit too much. That's a bit out of reach. Most people are like, you know what? I don't do anything crazy on I'm going to be browsing the web. I'm going to be doing my work in university or college. I'm going to be typing some Word documents. I'm going to be watching a few bits here and there, maybe doing some presentations, etc. And I can only spend around £500 to £600, right? Now, that there wasn't really anything there unless you wanted to get something secondhand, and then you're thinking about the warranty and things like that. There wasn't really something there that you could just pick up brand new from the shop that would tick those boxes. I think Apple have done a genius move here, because it's going to really shake things up. A lot of laptops, a lot of Windows laptops in this price category, they'll generally have a plastic build. You pick up the MacBook Neo, straight away it feels premium. Okay, you're touching metal through and through. You have a very bright display as well. You have the stereo speakers. Again, a lot of these things you have to kind of compromise on for laptops around that price point. Now, there are going to be some people saying 8 gigabytes of unified memory. Honestly, if you're saying that, then this isn't for you. Go for the MacBook Air, go for the MacBook Pro if that's what you want to do, right? Or a Windows laptop, maybe a gaming laptop or something like that. But this is for that first-time buyer, for that student, right? And if you're not a student, I'm sure you know somebody who's a student that you could get the discount from, right? I'm not saying you need to do that. I'm not saying you should do that. But hey, it's an option. So I think it's going to be a real market changer. Like, it's really going to shake things up in that 500 to 600 pound mark for laptops.
So how's performance been for you? Like, let's get into some of that category.
Okay. So, can you edit video on the MacBook Neo? That's what I wanted to see. So what I did is I downloaded Adobe Premiere Pro, okay? I got video that I shot on my iPhone at 4K, and I edited it on the MacBook Neo, and guess what? It was fine. Like, I could actually edit this video. Now, granted, was I doing any heavy VFX or anything? No. I was just doing general 4K editing on my timeline in Premiere Pro. When I opened Photoshop at the same time, I did notice a little bit of stutter. I'm like, okay, now this is where the unified memory is coming in. I can't be running two heavy apps like Adobe Premiere Pro and Adobe Photoshop at the same time, which is understandable, but I was able to successfully edit an unboxing video I had of the Studio Display XDR, which I had shot on the iPhone, and I was able to successfully edit that here on the MacBook Neo, and honestly speaking, there were no issues.
Oh yeah.
What about you?
So for me, day-to-day use, smooth as you'd expect. Gaming was where I wanted to do my stress test. It was interesting. So I played Resident Evil 4, and
Yeah.
it played well. Mind you, the display is a 60 hertz display, so nothing will go past 60 frames per second, right, in general. The game played well, but you could see the resolution was a little bit lower in terms of the textures within the game. I could not run an FPS benchmark on there. The tool that you could use on Mac for Horizon wasn't working. Maybe it's just because it needed an update or something. But it ran smooth. So I was like, okay, this is good. But then again, my mindset was going, is this the Resident Evil for Mac, or is this the Resident Evil for iOS? Because this is an A18 chipset. You know, you might just pull from that as well. So I don't know. And then I said, okay, Cyberpunk 2077 is available on Steam. I can download that and play. This is where you see the bottleneck. I was able to do frame gen and all that. Once you get into Firefight, it drops to like 22 frames per second. Still good. I didn't expect it to even get there, but this is with frame gen, but it's running low at like 6 to 7 frames per second. I think that if you're going to game, you're going to be playing a lot of like iOS games, which is fine. There are certain games that could work or not work on there, but it's not built for that. But again, keep it in mind, this is still what, $5.99, and I can actually run it. I can still get it to function. So I'm more impressed that it's working than anything else. But again, this is both of us pushing like the limits of where you're going to take this to, right? And if you're thinking of doing that, get yourself an Air, get yourself a Panther Lake, Windows laptop or something. Get something else that costs more, because it's not this.
This is the thing. I think you have to be realistic about that price point, right? I think Apple have gone for a good balance of, okay, for this price, what can we give that's going to be compelling? Now, obviously, it's not perfect. We've got no backlight on the keyboard, which is kind of a bummer. If you're a student and you want to be using this in your dorm room, you're trying to save electricity bills by switching the light off, right? You're not going to have that backlit experience. Fair enough. You've not got a haptic trackpad, which, to be fair, again, it's clicky. It's not bad. I know it's not haptic like the other MacBooks, but it's something that I can get over. You don't get a power adapter in the UK, right? Which is kind of surprising, because in the US you do. You get a 20-watt power brick. You don't get one in the UK. So that's something that you're going to have to buy separately. So unless you do have a 20-watt power adapter lying around, you might have with your iPhone, that you bought anyway, which is fine because you can just use the same one. But if not, you're gonna have to spend about £20 more to get that. But regardless, I still think it's a very, very good deal. One thing that we were talking about when we were in London at the launch event was, is this going to cannibalize the sales of the world's most popular laptop right now? The best-selling laptop, which is the MacBook Air, right? Because that was the entry-level MacBook. If you wanted a brand new MacBook and you wanted it for the lowest price possible, you would buy a MacBook Air, right? Now comes this at almost half the price. I mean, if you look at the student pricing, then it's half the price, right? Okay. So a lot of people who would have gone for the MacBook Air may no longer go for it and may go for the Neo.
It will. I think it will cannibalize the sales. Absolutely. I mean, just my own experience, anecdotal experiences. My wife's friends when the M1 came out, they all were like, "Okay, should I get an M1?" It's like 5 of them. I had to ask them, "What do you
Hmm.
do?" Went through the list, and I was like, "Just get an Air." They wanted to get a Pro. They were like, "I'm a Pro user."
Hmm.
I'm like, "No, you're not. You barely use it. You work off a browser." I was like, "If I could
Yeah.
give you a Chromebook, I would, because you don't do anything on
Hmm.
this." So I think it's gonna cannibalize a lot once people realize what they do and what it fits into that category. I think it
Hmm.
might take a little bit of time for some people to understand because, to be fair, the people who just like, "Oh, I want the M because I've got the performance there." But I think it will cannibalize that market well enough that we might see some restructuring. And also, I think it's going to affect, not necessarily affect the MacBook Pro, but I think it's going to affect it even more than what the M1 did. Because once people realized that you could stay on an M and you didn't have to go to a Pro, because I remember, going to events and, I was carrying my, M1 and M2, no, was it M3 Air? And people were like, why are you using an Air to edit? I'm like, why do I need a Pro for that?
Hmm.
Like, I don't need it for any of this at all. And
Yeah.
they're like, yeah, you're right. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, we're at an event. I'm not doing that many effects. And even if I wanted to, I can do it on this device. So it doesn't matter, at any point.
Mm.
So I think it will, but I think it's just one of those things where we will see it probably next year properly once things gauge out. But again, Apple might fall into that predicament that they've fallen in the last couple of years, that each time they release a new M chip, we all go, it doesn't really matter because your M1 is still just as good as it is today.
This is the thing. I think Apple really did change the game when they released the M series of chips, and the M1 was such a good chip that, I myself stayed on the M1 Max for my MacBook Pro. Um, And I didn't switch over to the M2 Max purely because I was just like, it's going to be too much faff to transfer everything over.
Yeah.
And then I eventually changed over when it was the M3 Max, but that was purely because, my loan period was over and I was like, okay, I'll carry on using this, right? I think my bet is that Apple kind of looked at the numbers and they saw that they have more opportunity of picking up first time buyers with the Neo, and they're going to get so many more sales on that side of the market, which they didn't exist in before, compared to the MacBook Air. So they were like, you know what, we're happy to take the hit for the MacBook Air sales that will drop because of the MacBook Neo. But this way, we're going to get, first-time buyers, we're going to get students into the Apple MacBook ecosystem, right? So they're going to be used to Mac OS now. And then guess what? When these students become professionals, maybe when they're a little bit older, then they're not going to go back to a PC. They're just going to be like, I'm used to a Mac. I've been using the MacBook Neo for 5 years. I think that's Apple's long-term bet. They're like, let's get these users in early and let's play the long-term game, because once they're in the ecosystem, like they have been with the iPads, with the iPhones and stuff, they're going to stick inside this walled garden. They're going to have AirDrop. They're going to be able to mirror their iPhone onto the device. Everything's going to work perfectly in sync, right? And then they're never going to want to leave. And I think that's what they were betting on. I think it's going to be hugely successful for them.
No, I think it will. Um, I think it's one where there's a part of me that wants to say like, okay, PC market is doomed, but I don't think it is. I've got another video comparing this laptop to two PCs at the same price point, which would be very interesting for people to see. But I think the problem with the PC game is that there are too many factors. It's not whether it's a good product or not, because they can always be a good product. It's just that there's Microsoft, there's a love of Microsoft, there's a lot of the processors, but I think the processors are fine now. That's almost solved. You've got Intel, Qualcomm, but then you have then the manufacturers, right? Who's going to deliver quality product that just fits the build at 599? Because even if
Mm.
Microsoft were to tune Windows better, which can be done, and we've got our processors, it's who's not going to make it plastic.
Mm.
That's the case there, right? Or at least give us, like like the aluminum type stuff where like, okay, it's not aluminum, but it's a really unique, good device. That's where it lies. I think that's, and also again, who's also going to give us the battery life? Because that is one thing that, you know, when you drop down, especially on Windows, when you drop down to cheaper laptops, you don't get that. You will get that on the high end now. You don't usually get that on the lower end price points. And Apple promises 16 hours. I did a battery test. I got 14 hours, 56 minutes. So it's close enough.
Close enough. Pretty
Yeah.
good. A very interesting new product, and we love seeing competition. It's going to really put pressure on other manufacturers to bring more at this price level, because now they've got competition in an area where they didn't really have much competition before from Apple. They were kind of competing amongst themselves, and now they've got some big competition coming in. So it's going to be very interesting over the next few months and years.
I hope you enjoyed that clip. If you want to hear the full podcast episode, then that will be linked down below. And if you want to see more clips like this, then be sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you don't miss them.